Not much.
So,
JP,
what's up?
I guess first thing to talk about on this episode of Hot Laps of Liberty, which is episode number 3, as usual, we try to do is one of the partners we had listed in the little intro card, Midwest Sim Racing. We try to briefly recap whatever they had going on the past weekend. So they had the Crown Vic Cup this past weekend. So it was Crown Vic's at Homestead. It was awesome. There was 4 heat races, and then it was like I don't remember how many laps the main event was, but I was doing good. I was running like second, third, even led a bunch. Then I got taken out on the last lap, and I had to settle for 5th. But it is what it is. So that's pretty much that for the Midwest recap. The article will be posted tomorrow for more in-depth coverage on that, as always. But moving on, as you might have noticed in the title, we have a special guest, and because of that, we're going to switch over to the Dirt Track and Drama segment. And
thanks guys for having me.
So we've got some questions for you. We'll talk with you for a little bit, and then Casey will be joining us for the Dirt Track and Drama segment as we recap everything from it. So first thing got to ask for you, Casey, is tell the audience, when did you start racing? What's your background? Where are you coming from?
Well, I started racing when I was 4.5 years old. So it was 1998. I started racing quarter midgets. Did that for about 10 years. We traveled, all over the eastern half of the United States. Indianapolis, did mini Indy, North Carolina, down Daytona. We did New Smyrna, the Tangerine Invitational down in New Smyrna. A lot over at the Fairgrounds in Georgia, close to Atlanta and Cumming. And then we kind of moved up out of that. I got a little bit older and a little bit bigger. Couldn't fit in those cars anymore. And raced asphalt at Huntsville Speedway and Nashville Fairgrounds. We started there in 2008, running mini modifieds. Did trucks and a little bit of open wheels on pavement. And Huntsville Speedway closed down for the first time. And we kind of regrouped and sold all of our asphalt stuff and went dirt racing and never looked back from there, and ran crate late models for a couple years. Went into super, ran super, steelhead super for a little while, and tried out our hand with the open wheel class, and that's kind of been probably the best thing we did. I feel like we've had our best runs probably since we ran quarter midgets in the dirt modified. So having a blast doing that right now.
So tell us a bit about what are your plans for the foreseeable future now in this stage of your career?
Just keep going as long as we can. I've been really blessed. I kind of had this speech not too long ago when we were doing a video segment at my work for my mom. And I was kind of afforded a childhood a lot of kids don't get to have. My dad sacrificed a lot, and my mom sacrificed a lot for me to do this, because a lot of this is just coming directly out of his pocket, her pocket, helping out, every way they can, just to have something to do together. And so we're just looking forward to, right now. We're kind of just living in the moment with this series, man. This Crate Racing USA Modifieds are taking off. They kind of offshot a little bit. Southern Sport Mod Series kind of offshot off of Cruza. So we've got a lot of those races coming up around Buckshot and Duck River Speedway. And we're running up at Fort Payne weekly. So, we're really happy where we're at. We'll probably just stick around running some of this. And, as we kind of get some of the bugs worked out and get a little bit more seat time, this is only my second full season running the modified, so still getting real comfortable in the car. And my goals would be, I'd like to try out like Boone for their big events that they run up in Boone, and I wanted to do Bristol, but every time I watch, I kind of backtrack a little bit on that and say, nah. Every time I watch it, someone's blowing motors and flipping on the front stretch. So I think maybe that's an offshoot. But if they do some, they were talking about doing some dirt stuff at North Wilkesboro. So if they do that, it's something I'd look at wanting to go do. But definitely want to start doing a little bit more traveling. So that's kind of where we're at. But perfectly content just being a weekend warrior and just kind of deciding where we're going to go on a Monday and working on it till Saturday and having fun with my dad, my wife, and my son. He's getting into it now. So it's just all about having fun for us right now.
JP.
What are some of your favorite tracks to go to, whether you're racing or just watching?
Well, I can kind of split that into two categories because, as I was talking to you guys before, I came from an asphalt background, so I do still enjoy watching asphalt races. So you'll always catch me watching the Snowball Derby. Big fan of Nashville Fairgrounds. The last full season I ran pavement, we ran a modified at the fairgrounds. The last year they ran them on the 5/8 regularly. This was before Modifieds and Mayhem came about. Loved racing that track. It's a fun track. Love going and watching those races up there. As far as dirt goes, I haven't been to a track I hated. I really love Buckshot Speedway. I know I've talked to you, Reed, about it before, and I've always just wondered how that track came to be honest with you, because have any of you guys been to Buckshot? You have, right, Reed?
Actually, I have not. It's that close to me, and I really want to go.
So I just a little. This is what I told my dad, and I thought it was really funny. Buckshot, literally like 2 or 3 years ago, did not exist. Right? Mm-hmm. It came out of nowhere, and I give a lot of praise to the Wilkins family that started that up. Fantastic family. It almost is like they woke up one day and they said, "You know what I want to do with all that land that we just bought? I want to build the best damn dirt track in the South." And that's what they did. We went there last year for the first time. It was the first time they had a big UCRA crate race there. We had no idea, how much parking they had. I remember we showed up, and the gates opened at 3. We showed up at 4. It was a little long of a haul. We didn't realize how long it was going to be, but we got there at 4. We figured we'll be fine. We'll find a parking spot. We got in there, and it was packed to the gills. They were starting to have to really figure out what they were going to do with parking. And I remember we rolled through the gate, and they had it so packed that there were trailers on one side, trailers in the middle, and then trailers on the other side with just a narrow way for cars to go through in between them. And we were trying to find a parking spot, and I will never forget Greg Wilkins, who I don't know him on, and if y'all are watching, I'm so sorry, but I think his dad's the one that owns it, or maybe it's his brother. Either way, he's in the family. And I just remember he stopped me, and this was a parking spot right by the gate, right up where we could sit on the hood of the truck and watch the entire race. And he just said, "Just hold on a minute, I'll move my truck over." He got in, he backed his truck over. He helped me get in because we're pulling a 32-foot enclosed, and it was real tight. He guided me, got me in his parking spot so that I had someone he'd never met, could go and park in his spot and have a right next to the gateway to get into the racetrack. Fantastic people. So I have nothing but praise for them. I love that track. If it was an hour and a half closer, I'd be there every Saturday. I really enjoy racing at Fort Payne. Marvin Ford poured out his heart and soul into that track, and he passed away not too long ago. And his wife and son and their family is doing their best to keep the gates open. And they're doing they're getting there. They've got a lot of learning that they're doing, and everyone's human. They've made mistakes in the past couple of weeks, but they're learning from it, and they're taking notes, and every week they're getting better and better. And I'll keep supporting them as long as I can. It's a great group of people up there. Our open wheel division drivers up there are fantastic. I'm never worried about getting my stuff tore up when I race up there, because everyone up there does a good job racing with each other. And one place that I really, really enjoyed, and I unfortunately didn't have the time to, or didn't have the best of luck when I went, was North Georgia. Stephen, I know you're frequent up there. but that place is fast. I remember we showed up and we were underpowered, undergunned because those guys were almost full blown modifieds, and we were running 3 link and a little motor compared to those guys. But man, that place was fast, and we're hoping that they're going to put on a Southern Sport Mod race up there. I know they've been kind of working on that, so we're going to go back up there, and we're really wanting to try out Sonoya too this year.
I've heard good things about Sonoya.
Yeah, I want to make it out there one day.
So
Yeah,
a great track.
all the pictures and videos that I've seen from out there, the track surface is always in great shape. They put a lot of work into it throughout the week, and it shows. So we're looking forward to going down there a couple times, maybe towards the end of the season, and try it out.
So, Steve, I believe you have another question for him.
Yes, sir. So, Casey, speaking of Fort Payne, why don't you give us a little bit of insight about this past Saturday and how you pulled off that win?
Well, the thing about Fort Payne that we've learned in the last couple of years is everything comes down to your starting spot for the most part. Usually by the time we get out there, it's a one groove track. So, I started outside pole Saturday night. I just knew the only way I had a shot at it was just to beat whoever was starting inside pole to turn one. And we managed to do that, and we've been working out some kinks with this new Ford motor we got. It's a lot of more power than I'm used to, so I'm a little bit. Usually, I'm blowing the tires off of it, and so we've been just trying to get a good setup package on there. I threw a bunch of wholesale changes on it this week. We changed rear gear, we changed all 4 shocks, did some adjustments on the J bar. Tried to get it to where it'd stick to the corners and give me a little bit of drive off, and it looked like it helped a whole lot. The car stayed glued to the track, and we just, like I said, we sailed it off in the turn one, cleared for the pole sitter, and we just kind of let it eat for the rest of the race, and real thankful we had a nice clean race. Like I said, those drivers that run the open wheel class up there, we've been running with them, all of them, for the last 3 years. And they're a fantastic group. Never really have to worry about anybody tearing your stuff up. So I knew, we were going to have a good, clean race anyway. And like I said, just real lucky. A lot of luck came into it. We just keep digging, and we're going to try to back it up again next week.
So believe that's it as far as our questions. And for the rest of the dirt track and drama segment, we got few things to talk about, and then Casey will ask for your input on these things. So first thing we got to talk about was World of Outlaws. They were at Knoxville with the sprint cars, and I think the main thing coming out of this weekend was Carson Macedo and that giant wreck, and thankfully he's okay. He walked out of the hospital, but his car, giant ball of flames, and he was able to walk to the ambulance and with help, and went to the hospital. He got out. So thankfully he's okay after that. And David Gravel won the race. Did you see any of y'all see that? Any of it?
I saw on Twitter people post about it. It looked like a very vicious hit.
Yeah.
I saw that he was unconscious when he came to a stop, and that's very scary when you have those alcohol fires invisible like that.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I saw was what you guys shared to the group chat. I was elsewhere.
Yeah, I was glad he's okay, because that could have been a lot worse, especially when you're sitting in a car that's on fire for as long as he was.
And those sprint cars, man, I've never seen a small sprint car wreck to begin with. Especially when you're talking the 410 alcohol cars, those things get violent. Anything as much as just hitting your corner wrong and getting off your marks, you can end up just like he did. And to to what you were saying earlier about an alcohol fire, I've been through it and I've seen it. We used to run them when we were running quarter midgets. We had alcohol too, so not being able to see it and just feeling the thing about alcohol that I don't know if you guys know, some of you might, but alcohol burns cold. And when you're a driver and you're on your lid and you just feel that coolness running down your back. It's a scary feeling, especially when you can't get out yourself. So glad he was able to walk away from that.
And I mean, different wreck, different kind of sprint car, but especially Justin Owen unfortunately passed away earlier this year in an incident. I mean, sprint cars, there's some people are calling for a full redesign. Some people are saying there could be tweaks done. I mean, Casey, I think you might know more than any of us. Is there anything that can be like done to truly stop these wrecks from being so vicious, or is it just something that's going to
Well,
be a thing
so
when sprint cars exist?
the thing about strapping into any race car is you have to have a certain level of understanding that what you're doing is dangerous, especially sprint car drivers. And I give them all the credit in the world because I've told my dad this, I've told my wife this, I've told anybody that'll listen. If somebody walked up to me tomorrow and said, "I've got a World of Outlaws front running sprint car, I need a driver, will you drive it?" I'd tell them no, because I have a kid and I've got a wife and I got a family, and I just know that the thing about it is with those, it's completely out of your control, right? And I don't think there's really anything they can do aside from it. And you really can't even say it's a horsepower problem either, because micro sprints, same thing. 600s, same thing. Midget, same thing. 305 sprint cars, same thing. You can redesign the car all you want, but I just feel like just the way that you're inside that cockpit is already dangerous enough. I mean, the only thing I would say is, I know in quarter midgets we had a crossbar that went across the opening on the top that kind of would alleviate a lot, because I know with a lot of the fatalities we see in sprint cars, a lot of times it's because they're flipping on the side and you'll see their head come through the top bar and hit the wall, and that's all she wrote. So, I mean, there's little things they could do to try to save that, but at the same time, like I said, when you strap in one of those, you're well aware of what's going on. You're well aware of how dangerous they are. So you just kind of have to accept the risk.
So next thing up on the agenda to talk about, Steve, I believe you went to some dirt races this past weekend. You got a little recap to give us. So what do you got to tell us about what happened at Dogwood in North Georgia?
Yeah, so glad to be out this week at Dogwood and North Georgia. It was a busy week. There's a graphic up there to show you just a little bit about it, North Georgia as well. But Dogwood was hosting an event. I don't remember the title of it. I had it up on my notes, but I can't seem to find my notes at the moment. But that race was intense. Here in a little bit, I'll probably post some pictures to the LRR page from both events. Those are the only two that we currently have readily available. But the racing action was intense. There was 22 divisions, I believe, at Dogwood, and like 7 or 8 at North Georgia, which is decently high for just a weekend series race at North Georgia. Dogwood had a lot of great karting action. That's where I started. I started in Purple Plate Division in dirt karting. And to see that field is still there and is still growing makes me happy. It means it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Special shout out to Swan Racing. Those guys kind of took me in this weekend, and hung out with them most of the time. Tyler Swan and those guys. Thank you for getting me out there and getting me talking with the track owner about doing some potential events later on in the year out there. And North Georgia was fun too, and until I had my little episode, which some of you might have saw if you follow my personal Facebook or any of my social media. That wasn't fun. Moral of the story here is take care of yourself out in the heat. I had a heat stroke Saturday night, and it was not fun. Special thanks to the track owner. I can't remember his name because, again, I blacked out. I don't remember exactly what happened. And the medics that were out there that took good care of me. Thanks for that. I didn't get hit by any cars or ran over or anything, so that was very fun. But I was only at North Georgia for maybe 30 minutes before I started feeling really sick, and I got a couple pictures. I saw a couple divisions run. I honestly don't remember much about that race because, again, I was so exhausted from the heat. But yeah, it was a fun weekend. Looking forward to doing another event out there sometime in the near future.
So next up, to talk about, some of y'all may have seen this because this is probably the biggest race of the weekend, the Dirt Late Model Dream at Eldora, which of course Superman Jonathan Davenport won, took home $129,000, giant freaking purse. And I remember
That's a
Tim
nice
McCready won one of the features on Thursday night. That's all I watched. I don't remember who won every feature. And only other thing I remember as far as finishing order wise was that Carson Hocevar had a rookie of the race, so he took home like $1,000, I think, for that. Any of y'all see that?
I was watching Lamar, so I could only watch a couple pieces of it, but I did get to see the Davenport heat race, and he kept it up front most of the race, like he always does. I was expecting him to kind of move up more, but I think he finished either second or third, which can't beat that for dirt heat.
I know this is probably the first dirt late model race I've watched this year that had my man Ricky Weiss in it. And I know he doesn't run a lot of the big events, but I love Ricky Weiss, dude. I hope he blows up and, starts to do really, really good, go to these big events. Because I saw him race at Smoky Mountain, and if he hadn't gotten involved in a huge crash that wasn't his fault, he probably could have won there. So he was there, which is cool to see. Now we just got to get Pizza Man to run the Dirt Late Model Dream at one point.
There we go.
We also had the hometown hero from Fort Payne, Sam Seawright himself.
Yep.
He was up there, and the Hunt the Front boys didn't have a really good weekend. It seemed like they were behind the 8 ball and beat around like a pinball most of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they went to is it tonight or last night? They went to Kokomo.
Kokomo,
so they stayed and rebuilt the car using parts off another car and raced at Kokomo. So that's some determination that those guys had. And one of the things I really wanted to point out, Jonathan Davenport had a terrible prelim, like the Thursday night, Friday night features, terrible. And that's kind of what I think intrigues a lot of the dirt fans and why NASCAR is trying to cash in on it, because what you saw there was just how close everybody is, and how somebody could be absolute just dogging the same exact track the night before and come out and just wax them the next night, running the same car. They didn't change any. Well, I'm sure they made some setup changes, but they're running the same car. And it's the same driver, and he went from what he was doing on prelim night to just doing what he does best, which is win. And I thought that was fantastic. And another local guy that made the trip to the Dream for you guys, and one that I know very well from my quarter midget days, Donald McIntosh.
Yep.
He was up there. I didn't see how he did, but I know that that was like his first trip there in a couple of years. I remember a couple of years ago, the first time he went up there, he had the old Buick engine in there that his dad built. So that was neat. Really, really, really good group of guys. Those guys are good friends of ours when we were running quarter midgets.
McIntosh is from Dawsonville, isn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, Slammin' Sammy was up there. Always love seeing him go to the big events.
He's doing real well. I remember watching him race mini mods at Fort Payne when we first started racing dirt. I mean, he looked like he had to have a booster seat to see over the steering wheel, and just to see him mature as a driver, and going out there at his age. I mean, he's got to be I don't know how old he is now because time flies by, but he's got to be in his early 20s at most.
Yeah. And
he goes out there and he wheels that car just like a seasoned veteran. So the sky's the limit for him. I 100% think that probably within the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to see him on the touring circuit. We're going to see him with some really big wins.
I can't wait till the day we have Slammin' Sammy as our dirt driver of the week.
It's coming. It's coming.
And speaking of driver of the week, I think to no one's surprise who we picked this week, the winner of the Dirt Late Model Dream at Eldora, we had to go with Superman. Jonathan Davenport. If you saw the post on social media earlier, he was our dirt driver of the week. I mean, he won the biggest race of the weekend, and he did it in great fashion. You know, like you were saying, Casey, wasn't great in the prelims, came out and dang near dominated the main event. And,
I can test this. I think Casey should be the man. He should be the driver of the week. Our local driver of the week, at least.
That's a good point.
Our local driver of the week should definitely be Casey. We need to start doing posts like that. Start promoting some of these small guys.
That's true.
Well, define small. I'm not very small. I mean, everybody that comes by the trailer at the track, they say, "Hey, how do you get in that thing?" A lot of Crisco, and usually when I get in, I don't feel like getting out for a while.
I'm not gonna lie. When I first started talking with you, I thought you were much shorter, and then I saw the picture, and I was like, "Holy crap, this dude's tall."
6'3", 285, baby.
I was like,
"That's a whole lot of love,
dude. This guy's huge."
See, you got I'd say 75% of racers who are just tiny little dudes, and then you got the rest are maybe 20% are average, and you got the 5% who are just freakishly tall.
Oh yeah, I mean, have you guys ever met Kyle Larson, the gamer man himself?
Yeah.
I met him. I met him at Talladega one year, and I walked up to shake his hand, and I swear this guy had to look up to me, and I felt like I felt like he was a child.
I felt he had to look up to me, and I'm only 5'10" and a half.
He's a small dude. Who
would win in an arm wrestling match, Casey Clark or Marcus Armstrong?
Oh man, it depends. Which arm we talking?
You gotta give me left arm for Sato.
Man,
get Yuki Tsunoda in there.
So I guess that wraps up the Dirt Track and Drama segment. Thank you for coming on, Casey. It's been fun.
Absolutely. And before you guys go to the asphalt segment, I just want to drop a good old fashioned. You guys just got beat by Jackson Boone.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And if Jackson Boone's watching, again, another guy that was actually getting into quarter midgets when I was getting out of quarter midgets. So remember going up there when he was first starting at the Music City Quarter Midget Racetrack. So glad to see him doing big things too, because I know he got a pretty big win this weekend as well. So congratulations to him. And that's it. That's the segue, boys. So I'm going to let y'all have the asphalt section, and congratulations to Jackson Boone, and y'all have at it.
Yep. Thank you, man.
Have a good one, Casey.
So, moving on to the Asphalt All-Star segment. I mean, it was the first thing on our agenda for the and there are modifieds of mayhem were there. If I'm being completely honest, I can't tell you who won. I didn't see any media coverage of it as far as big posts. But the man we got to talk about is, good friend of ours, Jackson Boone. So he won the Pro Late Model race. And honestly, just any time he wins, I love having an excuse to post that picture. I wish I had it ready to show, but it's we need to have that as a graphic up here. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to the LRR Facebook page or Instagram, and one of
our personal pages, you'll see it.
One of the most recent posts is going to be Jackson Boone giving me the hang 10 salute, and it's the laser eyes, and it says "You just lost to Jackson Boone." Dylan Feccio got pole, I think, but Jackson Boone took the win, and I really, really hope he can win there again when we go in July, because he's been doing really, really good this year.
Speaking of that, if you guys didn't notice, we're working on it, but we will be posting a schedule of all the events that we will be attending this summer. I'm I'm going to be all over the place. Reed's going to be all over the place. JP's going all over the place. And, yeah, it's going to be a fun summer. I'll probably have my schedule out for the entire year.
We are
planned around November-ish.
We're going to preview part of that schedule, what we're doing this week. Talk about that later on in the Asphalt All-Star segment. Next thing we got to talk about besides Jackson Boone, as much as I'd love to sit here and talk about Jackson Boone all day, the Cars Tour went to Dillon Motor Speedway in South Carolina. I really want to go to Dillon, honestly. I've driven by that track several times. It's right at the state line. It might be in North Carolina, but it's somewhere right there at the state line.
I think it's in South Carolina. I think it's just in the line.
I think so, because I think it's on the left and the south of the border theme park's on the right.
I think it's 90. It's off of 95, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure. Anyways, it's right off the interstate. I driven by it several times going to visit my sister who lives in Wilmington, North Carolina. But the Cars Tour went there. Katie Hedinger was fast. Gio Ruggiero was fast. But the story of the week has to be 12-year-old Tristan McKee getting his first ever win in the Cars Tour, making him the series' youngest winner ever.
I don't think anybody's going to top that, in all honesty.
Probably one of the youngest pro late, if not the youngest. I'm not sure who holds the record, but definitely one of the youngest pro late model winners ever, regardless of the division, the sanctioning body. That was impressive. He qualified third. He tried to save his stuff. He made a really smart move by dropping from third to save his stuff for the end of the race. And then there at the end, he drove like a veteran, and this 12-year-old kid popped out of the car and took home the trophy. So good job to him. And speaking of Tristan McKee.
Quick question, Reed.
What's up?
How old is Tristan again?
12.
Yes, he is officially the youngest. Yeah. He is the youngest. He is the youngest.
But so we had talked about just a few minutes ago, talking about how we're going to talk about our upcoming schedule, what we got planned here soon. This week, actually, we got a doubleheader weekend on our hands. So Friday night, be at Pensacola, Five Flag Speedway. The Alan Turner Hyundai Pro Late models have their second race of the year, I think. There'll be that. The Crown stocks will be there. Other local divisions. That's going to be a fun night. And then that's on Friday. Saturday, Montgomery Motor Speedway. They have the Bring the Dad to the Races night. There's going to be pro late models there. So it's mainly a pro late model doubleheader. And along with local divisions, street stocks, outlaws, late model sportsmen, I believe, and the Grand National Super Series. And if you don't know what the Grand National Super Series is, it's I believe, super late model touring series. It's based out of the Carolinas for the most part. It's up in that area, but they are making a stop in Montgomery. And one notable driver who'll be in that field is a NASCAR Cup Series winner, 5-time Cup Series winner, Jeremy Mayfield. That's going to be fun. Hopefully we get to talk with him a bit.
That's like, I'm going to this, by the way. I'm driving.
You have to. You have to.
I'm driving from Georgia to go hang out with Reed, and I think JP is going to be there too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be a party.
I haven't figured it out yet, but I should be there.
We are going to have a LRR party at Montgomery Motor Speedway. If you guys are watching.
We're often. We're going to have a tent set up, meet and greet. We'll have it all.
Got some autographs.
Yeah, who's going to want our autograph? That's going to sell.
Your autograph.
You're going to have to pay somebody to take that from you. Like that's going to sell on eBay for -$5.
We'll pay the shipping fee.
Did you like our headshot?
Let's see here. Yeah, we got Grand National Super Series, they have 2 50-lap features at every track they go to. You got Pro Late models for 100 laps. Outlaws and Late Model Sportsmen both have 40-lap features, and Street Stocks have a 35-lap feature. But speaking of the Outlaws, our friend Wes Willis, he'll be debuting should be, I believe, debuting his Outlaw car this weekend. Unfortunately, his late model sportsman car got involved in a big wreck, lap one of their last race a few weeks ago. So it's not going to be in the cards for him to race that thing soon. It's going to be an expensive fix. But he should be there with the Outlaw, and LRR will be on the car with him. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be overall, I think Montgomery is going to be an awesome freaking race because we're on the car with him. You got pro late models. You got Jeremy Mayfield and Grand
all
National
of us
Super
are
Series.
there.
Yeah, hopefully all of us can be there. Plus our friend Seth's coming. Like it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be a wild weekend, and I can't wait for this. Kicking it off Friday, and then at Pensacola, and then hopping over to Montgomery for the weekend, and then hightailing it back home.
And that's only what y'all have to do. I'm going to be in Birmingham all day Thursday, then turn around and go to Pensacola, and then
I know.
Yeah, like I'll be in Birmingham till probably midnight, I'm guessing. Maybe 11-ish. Get back in Prattville 12:30, 1:30, somewhere in there. Then get like 5 hours, not even 5 hours of sleep. Get up at like 6 or 7, turn around, go to Pensacola. And the gates don't open until like 1:30, but I gotta leave.
You know, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna put a little plug in here. The reason I'm leaving early to go to Pensacola, even though gates don't open till that afternoon, is because there's a little truck stop just off the interstate when you're heading down to Pensacola. It's called the Yellow Hammer. I love it. They sell like $2 biscuits and gravy.
It's the best biscuits and gravy you'll ever
freaking eat, dude. I gotta go. We need them as a sponsor. In all seriousness, that was great. I got to go early in the morning. I don't care. They could open the gates at 8:00 that night. I'm still going that morning to go to Pensacola. What were you saying, Steve?
I was gonna say basically the same thing, but also there is 2 abandoned racetracks along that stretch of road that I would like to stop at and see if we can get some pictures out.
Yeah, Flomaton Speedway's one. What was the other?
There's one a little bit further north. I can't remember the name of it, but it's on that same stretch. It's actually a kart track. It's an old dirt kart track that's back off in the woods just a little bit. I found it, ironically, when we were going to Orange Beach 2 weeks ago. We were down in that area. It was on the GPS. I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" And then I did a little bit of research on it, and it's an old abandoned kart track.
I know there is a Flomaton Speedway, I think, but it's like kind of out in the country. There is, I believe it was called Flomaton Speedway. It's right off of Highway, was it 113?
Yeah, it's right before the McDonald's on the left.
Yeah, right before that McDonald's where you were at for an hour waiting on
Dear
coffee.
God, that's okay. I'm going to plug another place. That McDonald's, don't ever stop
Not
at
a good
it.
plug. Not a good plug. This
It's
is
a terrible plug. All right, I spent a little over an hour waiting on an order of fries and 2 coffees in the lobby with everybody else that was coming through. And I'm a very calm, cool, collected person, but I was starting to get pretty mad, if you want to be completely honest. But there was this old dude that just totally lost his stuff on this poor lady. I feel bad. He threw sweet tea all over the menu board. It was bad.
So I apologize. I said there was a Flomaton Speedway. It's actually Tri-County. It's up Highway 31.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
It's kind of off. You can take 31 and still like take it to Prattville.
You can see the big highway sign.
Yeah,
from the road.
But anyways, that'll be a fun trip this weekend. Plus Montgomery. But anyways, moving on. The last part of the Asphalt All-Star segment. Our driver of the week for this segment. We talked about him earlier. 12-year-old Tristan McKee earned the honor of being Asphalt Short Track Driver of the Week. And
amazing drive from such a young driver.
Yeah, that's definitely deserving.
Overall, like that's number one. I'm sorry, Jackson. We had a vote.
I will say, the fact that this kid's 12, he didn't have a headshot with a PNG background like the NASCAR guys or anybody else. I had to go in, get his victory lane photo, and painstakingly edit out everything. And all I'll say is if you see that post, please like and share because it's definitely deserving of being shared. For the
he actually liked it and shared it.
Yeah, on Instagram. He actually
which
liked
is
it.
pretty cool. That's the
Now,
second driver we've had to do that recently.
if only
How do you
Jonathan
go to
had-
the DMV whenever your car's for a winner at 12 years old? Like, yeah, I beat Dell Jr. the other day. I think I can get my driver's license.
Yeah, man, I can drive 5 speed, no problem. You want to see me do it reversed?
So, I guess moving on, keeping with the theme of stock cars, we're going to move to one of the higher 2 segments. We're going to go with the Monday Burnout next, which is, the segment where we recap all. For the Monday Burnout is, of course, recapping Sonoma. So, what y'all think of this weekend and the changes they made?
I'm going to be completely honest. I think Sonoma is one of the most beautiful tracks that's on the circuit. I just wish they would go during the wet season. And the reason I say that, they already have the rain tire package. Why not use it?
Yeah.
It's there. In the wet season, Sonoma is so much more beautiful. Instead of the grass dying, I'm colorblind, so I really can't tell a difference, but I can slightly. Like, instead of it being like a bright brown or a light brown, it's a dark, deep brown for me, but it's probably like green or something. Who knows? But like, I think it would just look better if they went during the wet season instead of this far out. But that's really my only take from Sonoma, because I only watched like the last 12 or so laps.
But
I think it's a conspiracy that the Toyota driver won the Toyota Safe Mart 350.
That's like ironically how at Las Vegas, when it's sponsored by whatever freaking oil it is that's on Joey Logano's car, he wins.
He always wins Pennzoil 400. Yeah,
exactly.
But, people were complaining about the stage cautions disrupting the flow of the road course races, and they wanted it to have long green flag runs, like what the road courses used to be. And then they had it this week, and now they hate it, which further proves my point that NASCAR fans don't know what they want, and they just love to bitch and complain on Twitter.
That's
sorry. I'm sorry for the language, but it's true. They don't actually believe in anything. They just want to complain. You asked for this. You asked for long green flag runs at road courses. You didn't want the stage cautions to disrupt the rhythm. You got it, and now you just complain about it.
Well, this goes back to the whole North Wilkesboro statement too. You wanted North Wilkesboro back, and then you complain about the racing.
Yeah,
It was a great race.
It was a great race. JP was there.
Contact patches right there that just give you all the grip in the world. And it takes the best driver to find that grip. Sorry that one person found it.
You can argue that the racing itself wasn't great, but honestly, I think the racing was fine for a road course race.
Yeah, it was a great race.
That was a great Sonoma race.
I honestly thought Kyle Busch was going to run him down there in the last couple laps. I honestly thought he was.
I had hope, but
I did too, because
I wanted a McLaren car.
True. The McLaren car can't perform on a road course.
You know what can't perform on a road course, though?
What?
That screaming American Eagle number 24 from Garage 5600 Motorsports. We'll get to that in a second.
We'll get to the Le Mans recap and Formula Liberty. But moving on with the Monday Burnout, the next thing we got to talk about is just predictions, thoughts about Nashville coming up in 2 weeks and NBC coverage. So,
my prediction is that I could be at that race for really cheap. I could probably spend $30 and go to the Xfinity Series race there. Maybe 30 more for a cup ticket. But I'm not going to go for one reason. SMI will not allow you to have a cooler full of beer, and I just cannot do that. It ruins the sport for so many people that want to go and have a beer on a Sunday and watch some racing. I don't know what they do. It's your Nashville market. Make it a night race on Saturday if you want the atmosphere. But I don't see what they're trying to do with this.
Probably trying to drive up revenue at a track that they need money for.
I am glad that at least they're making some kind of presence in the Nashville market. Obviously, we all want the fairgrounds. That's a work in progress. It'll be a few years before hopefully they get to racing there. But I do think the Nashville market is having a presence there, an ongoing presence there in some kind of capacity. I really love it. And even though Nashville Superspeedway isn't the same tier as Fairgrounds as far as racing entertainment, I still love it. And I think that NASCAR was really smart to go back because Nashville is arguably one of their best demographics they haven't been reaching for some time.
Nashville is actually starting to turn into more of a sports town. If you really think about it.
I would love to have an IndyCar race there at the Super Speedway.
That'd be awesome.
IndyCar at Fairgrounds?
No, I mean
move the Music City Grand Prix to the streets around the fairgrounds.
See if they can play about the loud noises then.
I went to the first year of the Nashville road course race, and I watched it at my buddy's rooftop pool in downtown. It was a very nice Monaco themed weekend. I couldn't get into it though.
I feel like so interesting story about the Nashville Grand Prix. Yeah, I know this is Monday Burnout. It's not Formula Liberty, but we're on the topic of Nashville. So I went to Nashville last year in August for a fairgrounds race. Made a trip out of it, and it just happened to be the week after the IndyCar race, and they were in the process of taking everything down. And they still had the concrete dividers and the catch fences up across the bridge. They still had the stands up for the most part. You could still see the tire marks and where the pits were, and you could see where the burnout was. It was weird seeing like an abandoned, not really abandoned, but a racetrack being torn down. But I would love to go and see a race there in person. I don't care if it's like Monaco and there's no passing. I really want to go.
Just for the experience, I think it'd be worth it.
Yeah, just because it's Nashville. I mean,
it was also bad the first year because of the amount of cautions and red flags. But I feel like if they get it sorted out this year, I might go next year. That's how I feel. I'll leave that up to you guys. But
I mean, it's fair. But moving on with the Monday Burnout, since we're kind of starting to talk about road racing, final thing to talk about for Monday Burnout is our NASCAR Driver of the Week, which is, of course, old MTJ. Dominated at Sonoma. So I think, first of all, this puts Martin Truex behind only Jeff Gordon for all-time wins at Sonoma.
That's 5, correct?
Jeff Gordon has 5. Truex has 4.
Okay.
So this was Truex's second win of the year. He leads the points now. And I think Truex is one of those guys that he's not talked about as much as he should be when it comes to the road course ringers. And people love to talk about Chase Elliott and AJ Allmendinger and now Kyle Larson. But nobody is talking about Truex. He's a really good road course racer, and I don't think he gets enough credit for it.
I believe it's a lot of going into short tracks and road courses both require a lot of rhythm. And I feel like if you're good at one, you're going to be good at another. And that's why you see short track Martin Truex Jr., short track guy Kyle Larson excelling at these road courses is because they have the ability to find their rhythm very quickly.
So what you're saying is that Antonio Giovinazzi would be a hell of a good short track guy.
Well, let's hope he's better than Raikkonen. But I feel like Kyle Larson could do pretty good in Red Bull if the rest of the grid was driving Williams.
So moving on to Formula Liberty, our fourth and final segment of the night. Weekend. Obviously, you can tell if you saw the post, the Driver of the Week. We'll get to that. But the Driver of the Week post, it was open wheel. This was the open wheel segment. Now it's just the road racing segment. So, because none of these cars were open wheel, we got to talk about it still. The 24 Hours of Le Mans. Garage 56, NASCAR's venture to Le Mans. First off, I love that they pissed off the Ford CEO. He was mad that he's mad that it's not a Mustang. And he's like, it's only a 1-year thing. When we go back to Le Mans, it's going to be a 4-year deal, trying to flex. So I love that Chevy pissed off Ford. Other thing I love is obviously NASCAR and America having a presence at Le Mans. You know,
Jimmy Johnson.
Kilometer, but
yeah, what's the kilometer?
I loved it.
I love how Rick Hendrick knows what that is.
Yeah. Because his granddaughter was showing him all the TikToks.
Yeah. I think my
favorite
part
is the one where the guy's holding his phone like right against the track, and as it comes, it's like the Doppler effect. He's like, What the fuck? I love it. I love it.
I like how they picked Jordan Taylor to run that program, and that's what it turns into.
Yeah.
My favorite, I think, commentary wise, was when the actual race announcers were like in the middle of talking about the NASCAR car, and they were like miles per hour. And for you foreigners,
Yeah.
he said that.
We're the foreigners for one.
And
Hey,
for you
kilometers didn't get us
that's
to the moon, did they,
3.2
Steve?
kilometers.
We won the Revolutionary War with miles. But
Forget the metric system, you communists.
but Ferrari hypercar, they won the overall. Toyota led most of the race. And I don't know what happened to them at the end.
A squirrel.
They had a driver not have 6 hours, so they had to do a driver change to get him in there. He was
Damn.
a couple minutes short of 6 hours.
Wasn't it
Yeah,
also
there-
a squirrel? He hit a squirrel.
Yes, that's why
Went
he had
to
to
the
come
grill?
in. Yeah.
Toyota fumbling the bag. Once
Yeah,
again.
they pulled a
Keep
Ferrari
moving
and let
forward
Ferrari
because
win.
the
Yeah.
car was stuck. And
Toyota drove like Ferrari. But I love that Giovinazzi got the win with Ferrari.
It's like the Daniel Ricciardo of McLaren.
Yeah. But Ferrari finally won something this year, and this puts Giovinazzi closer to Triple Crown status than Charles Leclerc. And I love it. I love Italian Jesus. I wish he'd get a shot in Formula One again, or NASCAR, or just IndyCar, something.
you know, why not bring him on with this third car that
that's what I'm saying, dude.
23
Giovinazzi in a
Yeah,
project.
they already
91
have
car?
Raikkonen coming in there. They had Raikkonen already. They have the V8 Supercars guys, Steven
You know-
Van Ginsburg.
I really want to see, just for the hype, Lewis Hamilton hop into a NASCAR Cup car just to
He's
see what
done it
the
before.
do.
He
Like,
did it
in an
with
actual
Tony
race
Stewart.
setting.
It was at IMS's road course.
But was it in a race setting or was it just
No,
practice?
it's
No, it was a
Track
swap
day.
thing with Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart drove the F1 car, and Hamilton drove the stock car.
See, we need to switch it out with Kyle Larson and then,
Well, see what he
Next.
can do with the 500 next year. I'll be sitting in the Holman turrets. So see y'all there.
I'll do my best to be there. I want to go to that figure eight racing that Will Rigdon keeps talking about.
We need to get
So-
the Pizza Man car there.
Yes.
Yes.
Now we go back to Formula, or we go back to Monday Burnout in the middle of Formula Liberty.
We're still more organized than those guys on Steve
That
Hood
podcast right
Um,
there.
podcast.
You mean those
But,
guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Should I take that down?
if you feel like it,
I can't scratch it. Maybe I'll just send it to Virginia.
so okay. We talked about
I'm
him.
stopping there.
Obviously, we're gonna have him as our driver of the week. Italian Jesus himself, Giovinazzi, was driver of the week. I love it. I mean, this is probably the only time we'll have a Ferrari driver on as driver of the week because Leclerc and Sainz aren't, yeah. I'm a Ferrari fan. I don't want to talk about it, but I'm glad we finally got a Ferrari driver on, and I love the fact that it was Italian Jesus. So that means our driver of the week roster this week is an old man NASCAR driver, an Italian Ferrari driver,
A child.
12-year-old kid, a child, and somebody named Superman. That's the cast of a Disney movie, folks. That's the cast of a Disney movie about some kind of racing. That's not,
You mean Cars? Question
That's
mark.
literally the cast of Cars too.
yeah.
All right, so Lightning McQueen.
We got Lightning McQueen,
Has
Francesco.
headlights now.
Who is the
Yeah.
12-year-old kid in Cars 2?
Lightning McQueen.
No, Truex is Lightning
I
McQueen.
was
He's an
12.
old NASCAR driver.
No, that would be Doc. You would be Doc.
If we're talking Cars 3,
Okay.
Truex is McQueen.
Okay. All right.
Anyways, so
What's that? What's that blue one or whatever?
We're gonna get a cease and desist from Disney. So what does it matter?
I can't think of the name of these the car names.
With
I
that
can
being
see it, but I can't think of
With
it.
that being said,
That being said, that wraps it up for Formula Liberty, and therefore for the show tonight. Thanks. We had a bunch of viewers earlier on with Casey. They're not watching now, but thanks to everybody who tuned in. We got a lot of engagement this stream, I think. Great.
Yes, thanks for
great
Casey
show.
for agreeing to come on.
The great interview with Casey. It was really nice talking with him. And we kept it under an hour. So that's really, really good. And considering this is our first successful interview on the stream, I'm going to see about going back and saving the Casey interview and posting it later. So hopefully y'all can see this on YouTube and probably Facebook at a later date. But thanks to everybody who watched. And unless y'all have something else to say, I believe this is it.
Yes, I'd also like to introduce John. He's coming back for our next episode, hopefully. I'm excited to get John out here. I mean, not John, Joe.
Joey. Yeah,
Oh,
I was gonna say,
My bad. Yeah,
Yeah, so for anybody,
Joey.
so Joey Spatello,
Brain fart.
I think that's how you pronounce it. He was with us when we were with URN. He's come over to LRR. He should be on the show next week. Looking forward to having him on. And at some point this week, I'm gonna have to make a meet the team type of post. Now that we have everybody, and I think this is it. So look out for that this week. And Steve, you got anything?
No, just looking forward to this weekend, and I can't wait to potentially meet the man, the myth, the legend, Jeremy Mayfield. Because okay, so just to break it down real fast, my grandfather. I wish I had the hat with me. I didn't bring it. My grandfather has a Jeremy Mayfield hat from the early '90s, from when he ran with Kelly Yarborough, and I'm gonna get that man to sign this hat. It's an old RCA racing hat, and I just want him to sign it. It's when he drove the number 98. I don't know exactly what year that was. It's probably early 90s, if I had to guess. Because it's got the older Winston Cup logo on it, not the more modern one. Even though Winston Cup died 20-something years ago now.
Winston died with Dale. No, I don't. Anyways.
Winston died with Bill Clinton. We all know it.
So anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.